Yeah, so we had the Genius Act kick in last year. Um, and we were in a really strong downtrend then as well. Like this was really quite bearish. And this was the Trump tariffs kicking in as well after he won the election, and they're running the tariffs, and then also Iran, Israel, sort of kicking off the war. They were shooting missiles at each other. And everything was getting like really bearish across the board. Even stocks are nuking pretty hardly as hard as well. And how long did this go for? That went for 115, 130 days. Pushing four-ish months, right? So, right, this one, I mean, from the high back here has now been 171 days. Obviously, Bitcoin made another high on this push here where Ethereum made the lower high, which is strange to see. Usually, Ethereum makes the high after Bitcoin, and Bitcoin make a lower high while Ethereum makes a high. This is completely inversed this time. I think they're doing everything they could to try and trick traders that have been in the market for a long time to keep them trapped. But the point that I was making here, though, was we had the Genius Act sort of come online here, and we had a big push. Um, and that was the reversal that broke us out of this downtrend. It also, a downtrend line through here as well, and like that finally broke. And so it was just like quite weak for a few days, and then we get this nice big push, which was 12% rally. That wasn't an immediate bounce. Like back here was an immediate bounce. So it was basically what we just had here, like massive capitulation, bounce, and then the market almost always rolls back over. But we need to get some sort of a big push like this and then get back into the value area low. So you can see here that we finally got acceptance back in value area low. Then Genius Act gets approved, and then we get the really big push. Okay, now 100%. We draw the outside trend line down through here, right? Now it's like 100% confirmed. We're back into an uptrend from here. So we need to see some sort of action like that. One of the things that see a lot is, I'm guilty of this myself sometimes as well. You get a little bit too bullish on the market before we've had like a proper reversal confirmation. And so, like, I think the best thing that we can do is like, okay, we're bearish until it's 100% confirmed to be bullish again. And that'll keep you out of like, buying back in, rolling over and getting wrecked, buying back in, rolling over and getting wrecked. Obviously, we can get in like the other day when we had that massive capitulation. Market sold off, you get a nice pin bar like this, and the market bounced, 13, 14% after that. But yeah, like, you don't want to just try and hold those forever. We've got somebody coming in. We don't want to try and just hold those forever because, this can always just end up bleeding out again and going another wave lower. So, one of the main things I'm watching for Bitcoin and also Ethereum would be to get a break back inside and confirm. So like these, we tried to get in, but as you can see, we had perfect rejections of the previous year value area low through here. So just getting back inside the developing yearly, and then you have the previous year value area low just there. The developing, this is something Romp says all the time, right? The developing isn't as strong as the previous year levels, right? And you can see previous year levels through here, like bounced, 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 right? Bounced again on here and here, right? And then we finally get capitulation through and confirm close on this candle, right? So that candle there confirms the close through, and then we reject, right? And then look at this. Keep on rejecting. I mean, these couldn't really count, but look, rejection here and rejection here. So two rejections there, one there, right? So for me, Ethereum, like, this might end up coming down a fair bit further. We could end up getting an inside break trade like that, but ultimately, we're really going to need to reclaim 21,500, which is a previous year value area low, to be bullish again on Ethereum. And, I think we're starting to put in a really clear sort of like internal high here. So, like how we have external highs and lows and we have internal highs and lows. Like the daily time frames, like this one here is obviously more of an external high, right? Like, we're not going to wait for that to get broken to be like, all right, we're back in an uptrend. Like, obviously, that would be like weekly, daily uptrend, but you sort of want to be getting involved in the market a little bit before then. But if we can break back above this level, right? So let's just say we come back down to this order block here, right? And the market finds some strength off this, right? And then we get an inside break set up, and then we get back above this, right? Then now we're in a 4 hour uptrend. But you need to be really careful we don't just end up doing this, right? And then that comes back down. Yeah, we have had break of structure, but then does it just do this, right? And then we get the same thing what we had just before, which was, right, ends up being a trap. Same thing happened on Bitcoin, right? Same thing happened on BTC. We end up having that trap. So if you've been watching my Loom videos, and I think even in the last webinar that we did last month, we were talking about like this being the major danger to watch out for. Like, we're obviously coming from a downtrend, right? So you have to be super vigilant on downtrend continuation patterns. And I'm pretty sure I said multiple times, like if there's a trap above 94K and then it comes back below this range high through here, we need to start considering exiting some positions. If we break below value area low of the developing, we need to be exiting. If we break below the uptrend support line through there, we definitely have to be getting out. So, we had multiple reasons to be getting out of the trade or any trades that you might have been holding from entries throughout this range, especially anything if you got in above the range high here because you're getting caught in the trap, right? You need to exit through here. And yeah, the main exit trigger, obviously, using our system was this candle here. That was the one that was like the biggest warning shot. So, and then, the very, very late exit trigger would have been this one here, right? So, this, especially once you break this low through there, after breaking the uptrend support, I mean, I probably could draw that a little bit better, right, off the wicks. But breaking that uptrend support is now broken, right, and you need backside retest off that. Order block support through here, and then you get the shooting star reversal, which is an engulfing shooting star reversal. It is like very much confirming that the market is getting ready to nuke. So I kind of feel like there was one, two, three really big triggers through there. And then also, it's kind of hard to see, but we also had the previous year value area low through here as well uh, from 2025. Right, so breaking that and closing below twice through there is another sign of weakness. So we just need to watch out that we don't get pretty much the exact same setup again. And because I know a bunch of us didn't get out through here and just still holding the whole way. So I'm going to try and work a bit better on my communication skills and, with the boys and stuff like that to, bang the drums a little bit harder if things are looking bad. Especially now, I think it's more obvious that we're in a real serious downtrend now because like back here, yes, went through distribution range, broke to the downside. This can always recover and take off, and then you're off again. But now, if we look at the higher time frames,
Yeah, I stuffed it up. I held on too long for us to confirm we were in the downtrend.
yeah,
I'd already
uh,
brought low, so I'm basically back where I am. But I mean, that's you know what I mean. It's no one's fault. It's just I
yeah.
got to read it better.
Um, so where did you start exiting then?
I
Or
haven't. I'm still in.
you still holding? Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
but a lot of mine were entered in the last bear market.
yeah. So you got in super low. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. So what was kind of so I can sort of think about, how we can help you guys better. Because I kind of feel like we did speak about it because you're not the only one. Like, there's been a whole heap of guys that are sort of in the same situation. I kind of feel like we had gone over this distribution range like multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah, we had. What happened is I held to because we weren't confirmed into a downtrend, and we're always talking about maybe we could do this and bounce out of here. And I'm like, no, I was actually really expecting a bounce, and then I was going to pull out on that, and we
Mm.
never really got there.
Oh,
And then
back
I don't know about
back
the other
here or back
boys.
here?
Back where, especially that 94, I probably should have bailed out then.
Yeah, losing 94, that was like the real, like, we're fucked. Like, when we lost that, I was like, oh, we're really fucked here now. And then, yeah, like, here was like the mega confirmation that it was definitely cooked.
Because
Uh,
how did Liam, you still in, or did you get most of yours out?
Um, I'm still holding Bitcoin. I
Yeah.
sold my alts at a loss, pretty significant loss, about 50% drawdown. So I'm
Alts
kicking
was
myself. I've
hard.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really tough with altcoins because they had been lagging Bitcoin and we're sort of hoping that Bitcoin would break to new all-time highs and then altcoins would take off. But because of what happened on October 10, I can totally understand why people got caught in altcoin bags because they nuked just so fucking hard. Like it almost just trapped everybody. So yeah, but you keep going, Liam.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm kicking myself because I remember looking at that retest, that backside retest on 94, and literally going,
Oh,
fuck,
here.
that's a backside retest.
Mm.
No, when it broke that bottom trend line.
Oh, this
So
one
not
down
the
here.
trap, but that. And I remember looking at that. But for me, the knowledge to get out was there. Like the knowledge was there. I personally looked at the 126 mark and went, shit, we're really oversold here. We've got a rolling over, and we've hit, I think it was the 1.26. So for me, I was kind of looking at that going, nah, surely this isn't the top. But like the technicals were saying it. And I
Mm.
didn't exit that really just from a psychological hopium, really. But then the nail in the coffin was I saw that backside retest at 94, and I was like, shit, I think we're going down. Like, but at that point, I was like, oh, I don't want to lose money. And I got out too late. And I'm looking at all of that going, there's not a problem psychologically. So there's not a problem technically. There's a problem psychologically there with,
Mm.
being comfortable with losing money, but preserving capital.
Yeah, the hardest thing I think is this top was extremely difficult psychologically, and it's mainly because of what happened on October 10. And because altcoins took such a beat down, and even Bitcoin, like, you're at 123K per Bitcoin, all of a sudden you're sitting around 100K, and you want everything to go back up so that, you can exit a little bit higher, or just hoping that it's just another flash crash that ends up continuing, which most of them do. Almost every flash crash that isn't already in a downtrend almost always continues afterwards. This is the first time I've ever seen a flash crash that wasn't already in a bear market. Like, we're rolling over and then you have a liquidation that didn't continue afterwards. So this one actually like really caught me out. I thought this would have a much higher bounce and rollover. It was just really like it was just so weak straight away. And I think that the main reason to that is because so many of the market makers and exchanges as well would have been put in super compromised positions because when you have massive amounts of liquidations, they have to take over all those shit positions. So they're a massive risk. And, you have the biggest liquidation event, 19.4 billion in history, um, which is 10 times bigger than when FTX went under. You're going to have a lot of selling that needs to be done for them to rebalance, right? I really think that's why we didn't get any continuation or anything like that. Because usually what happens, you have a big flash crash like this, and then the market just continues on afterwards because it's wiped all the books, and then there's no more leverage in the books, and it just gets pumped again. But this is the first time I've ever seen it or been involved in the market in that 9 years I've been trading crypto for that has happened, and then we rolled over straight away. So I was a bit surprised by that because usually with ones like this one that we had here, when you're already in a downtrend, it's like most likely that's going to roll over or go sideways. But that's
Yeah,
the thing that caught me off
I was
guard.
expecting another bounce out, and it just never happened. And then, like Liam, I sort of just fucking kept holding, and then you're down. I actually really ballsed up my Solana on that first run that it had because I didn't think it would peak that early. When it run basically when they got in.
Yeah, that was
Um,
fucked. We got fucked by Donald Trump on that one.
yeah, that
They
threw me.
released fucking Melania coin.
I got to learn to take profits. Like when you see
Yeah,
those crazy
yeah,
runs and you hit key levels, you got to, even if it does go, I got to get comfortable with be like, I'm just going to take some off the table.
yeah.
Um, and for me, tax implications is fearful, but I think you need to I need to get over that.
I've learned that
So
with my trading. I take 50% off now and let the rest. Like I was through like Chris and all them have taught me all this and Kyle and that. And that's a hard one to train yourself to do that, eh? Because you always think you're gonna hit a target, but you're better off to
yeah,
get some off the table and put it in the bag.
The other thing as well is like it's been such a weak cycle. Like nothing even really ran past all-time high. I've never been involved in crypto market, not that's happened before. Usually everything all altcoins, Bitcoin obviously as well. Bitcoin made new all-time highs, but pretty weak. Like we only really ran like an extra 100% from 69K, right? Not even. So that would be 140, right? But yeah, like for Ethereum not to break to a new all-time high is like, wow, that's fucking really pathetic, to be honest. Um, but the main reason is that we have to remember, like, this has been a super weak cycle. Everything has underperformed. Most altcoins didn't break to new all-time highs. Um, sorry, just admitting people waiting in the waiting room. Most altcoins didn't break to new all-time highs. None of the majors anyway. Obviously, we had early stage ones and stuff like that. And that is the reason for that is like, we've been in a massive period of QT, right? And economically, everyone's been feeling the pinch as well. And even now, like, things are starting to just swing back in the other direction now. Like the economy is still hurting. And I think we're going to get a new jobs number tonight, a revision that's going to be a really bad one as well. And I just think that the Fed has just been so far behind. I think that's mainly a political thing as well. Uh, and I really think that's the main reasons that fucked up the last year and we didn't run like, we sort of forecast it to. Uh, but, I still think that like that underperformance, you have this part of the cycle, or whatever it is you want to call it. I think we will see that materialize later on, like whether it's at the end of this year or next year. I feel like there's that it's like a spring, it gets bent up and hasn't been able to like release. Eventually that will release when all the economic indicators start to push, this starts to curl back up, the economy starts pumping and everything like that. That's when I think everything will spring load. I mean, like you look at gold, for example, like how long was that? Yeah. This thing was, building up for so long. Uh, we had that nice push over the COVID period, and then we had another like 4 years, I think it was, through here, pretty much exactly 4 years right before, and then it goes on its massive pump. So, however long it takes crypto
Whatever.
to break its next all-time high, I do think that all those altcoins, the top altcoins anyway, like obviously a lot of them are going to here, but a lot of them will push pretty aggressively again. So eventually that will come. But what I don't want you guys to be like is like, the next time we finally do get a full bullish cycle coming back and, you start freaking out and taking profit way too early, then it runs really hard finally. So I think what you need to do is have a rule in place when the market changes direction on the daily time frame. That is what you really need to be looking for. And it was kind of hard here on Solana because, like, realistically, you're putting that lower high through here. You probably wouldn't really be getting out until the break of the low here, right? That sort of confirms the lower high through there. So like the change in the daily trend. But I think like you just need a couple of rules in place. The one that we always teach in market mastery is like when you break the uptrend, right? So the uptrend gets broken, potential getting out some of it through here or getting out through here. Like just have a few rules in place that's like, checks off the list. This is pretty could go this one as well. I like to go the more steeper uptrend like this, especially when, talking about potential toppings and stuff like that happening. But that was the one that got us out on Ethereum right at the top last cycle, we used we used the uptrend through here. And that was because like in economic, it was much easier top to pick last cycle because all the economic factors shifting. We'd already had that one big sell off as well, and the market recovered. Um, and it was just a little like Bitcoin had also like was acting a fair bit more bearishly here. So it was a bit easier, like had a little bit more of a heads up to look for a trend break. But this was the trend break that helped me pick the all-time high on Ethereum last cycle. Definitely a bit tougher this year because it was more of a range. And, you know, when you have the range that's like this, it can kind of be tricky because you end up looking at stuff. Obviously you're still in bullish mode, looking for continuation patterns and stuff like that. So it's easy to get caught out. But at the end of the day, once you sort of have the confirmation of that break of structure, so like we have our low gets put in here, like lower high, so high, lower high, and then right breaks that low through there, come back up, right? Especially once you break here, it's kind of like you have to really be considering getting out of the market at that point. So I think you just need to like have a couple of rules and maybe you have them somewhere that reminds you all the time, like on your computer, on your phone or something like that. Send yourself an alert or something that tells you the rules, or have it written down sitting on your desk or something like that, or some diagrams, print off some charts of things to look at. The main one is like clear trend breaks, distribution patterns, and then the biggest one you got to focus on all the time is a change of direction on the daily time frame. Because like if you just focus on that, like it very rarely leads you astray. Like if we just go back, like probably through here would be in the toughest time you would have had. But apart from that, it's pretty clean. If we just look over the last 2 years, right? Right. We're uptrending through here, right? So once we break below here, I'm just going to turn off all the indicators, right? So that ends up being a double top, right? So swing low, swing high, break below that. So high, right? Higher low, lower low, right? Once you get a confirmation below this lower low, like that's four swings, right? So at this point here, it's your fourth swing. I mean, you could have been hoping that this is going to end up being, and this is the thing that I think you got to be really careful of. It's probably the thing that fucks me the most when I'm waiting for a I'm looking at the market, which could potentially be flipping bearish on the high time frame, and it could potentially be a falling wedge. This is one of the things that's got me many times, because obviously I'm like a bull. Like everyone knows that I'm a more bull focused on the market going up. And I think you should focus more on being a bullish trader because the market trends up for a lot longer than what it trends down for, right? And you can only get 100% going down where you can get thousands of percent going up, right? So the opportunity to make money to the upside is just so much larger than opportunity to the downside. And my trading philosophy is that I always try and hold out to maximize upside as long as possible until it's really obvious that the market is going in the opposite direction, right? But you have to have some really clear rules in place. Obviously, we have like the long-term VWAP levels, and I'll go over that in a second. But I think you just need to be careful when seeing stuff like this. But the point where it's like 100%, you got to be out of the market is if you have like a falling wedge or something like that, or some type of a bullish pattern on the high time frame that then fails, right? So I think that is the absolute last point that you have to be like, fuck, we just had, I don't know, a cup and handle that failed, or a falling wedge that failed, or I mean, you wouldn't get any inverse head and shoulders because they're at a reversal pattern at the bottom, or like even like an ascending triangle or something like that. Like those high time frame bullish patterns, they're probably like the most obvious point where it's like, okay, I need to be getting out of the market here. And still, like even like that fails through here, right? That still would have kept you out of the last 50% of the drop through there, right? So even though that's like the very last point that you're getting out of the market, like okay, we've had a break of the uptrend. right? So a breakout uptrend is probably like the first thing, then some sort of distribution pattern. Like you can the thing with breaking an uptrend, it can break the uptrend and then recover the uptrend and then push again. That happened on gold a couple of times recently, right? It's like, oh, the uptrend's broken. It's more like I wouldn't say like you break an uptrend. It's like, okay, you're definitely out of the market, but maybe that's like first opportunity to take some profit. Do you know what I mean? It should be a sort of like a warning sign for you because if it typically a strong uptrend shouldn't get broken, right? And so it's definitely a bit of a warning sign. But like we can go and have a look at gold. That had a couple of times that uptrend had broken. Like back here, had a really strong uptrend that was intact for a while. That broke, but then it went through a consolidation pattern, and then that consolidation pattern was stronger than the break of the uptrend, sorry, and then it pushes again, right? So, you know,
I
there's
guess you can I guess you can always buy back in a bit higher if you sell at the wrong time. Like you're gonna miss on a few percent, but
exactly,
you're playing it safe, I guess. But you lose a few percent if it does keep going up.
and that's
But
why I think.
that's
Sorry, you go.
I was going to say that's where it hurts you the most, though. Where if you think you're going to buy in higher and then it rolls over, that's where it'll give you a kick in the nuts too. So that's
Yeah,
easier
true.
said than done as well.
It is. It's very psychologically tough to exit and then get back in as well at low amount of coins. So like, there's always a downside to everything, right? And that's why I think you want to do stuff in stages. So it's like, okay, the uptrend just broke. Like, let's take 10-20% of that position off, right? I think the thing that fucks so many people from like selling out and exiting, taking profit is they're always going the whole position in or out, and that's very tough psychologically to do. And so, like, what I do is like, okay, you're getting some sort of bearish signals, like take a little bit off. Like I might sell one or two Bitcoin, and then okay, we get another like after break a trend, and then
All right, Phil.
distribution pattern put in or something like that. You break to the downside, sell a couple more Bitcoin. Okay, now we're into a downtrend. Now I've sold more Bitcoin. Now I might have sold 8 Bitcoin by that point, and I've capped, put a heap of
That's
cash
right.
in my pocket while still being exposed to the market if it moves the upside, and I can throw it back in if it does. And by doing that after a big capitulation or sell off or something like that, I throw them back in and lock that BTC in, and then you try and ride the bounce again and get out after the bounce if you're in a confirmed downtrend, right? And that's how I've always sort of done it. It's kind of hard for me to make like get those make like live calls. It's not really our Brendan would be fucking kicking my ass, but it's not really we're not really allowed to like make live calls. It's not really my responsibility to be like, hey guys, sell here quickly and then buy back in after the crash type thing. But like just trying to communicate to you guys, like that's how I sort of trade and manage my spot positions. Because like at the end of the day, like we do spend a lot of time like teaching you guys all the lower time frame stuff, but managing a spot position well is going to make you fucking way more money than low time frame trading is over the multiple cycles. Because if you can build your portfolio, your stack of coins up larger every time we have a downswing than what you started with, and you're having to like it's free DCAing. Like, on this last downswing, one of my portfolios had 7 Bitcoin in it, and now it's got 9.5 Bitcoin in it. And it's like, right, like, yeah, might have like lost a little bit of USD in the meantime, but like that's like they're like long-term bags. Like I don't need that. I don't need cash from that or anything like that to survive off. So like the focus is in just make sure the next time we're going back into an uptrend, I've got more Bitcoin in that bag than what I started with. I
Oh, hey,
started,
Hamish, it's Zoe. Francis, how you going?
hey, how you doing? I
Not
started
too
this.
bad. I'm not going to make it in tomorrow though for my PM shift.
Oh shit! I thought someone was talking.
Oh, I will.
Might have to mute her.
Yes. I was just trying to ask a question. Yeah, sorry, I just lost train of thought. But yeah, I was just saying, about increasing the size of your portfolio, right? That I could have DCA'd in and spent, fucking. I mean, that's quite what I mean. Bitcoin prices now. I'm calculating when we're still at 100 grand, close to 200 grand probably AUD, right? But I just got that for free by selling when the market looked really bearish and then adding back in, right? And obviously, there's some bags that I sell completely out and just wait until we confirm back into an uptrend or in accumulation range or something like that. But I also like to have something in the market pretty much all the time. And so I think it's important to run, multiple strategies at the same time. So you're still engaged, you're still in the market, you're going in and out with a couple of bags, and you're just trying to focus on increasing that bag. You're out completely with another bag, like your long-term holdings or something like that, completely out of the market with those. But you're waiting for much more stronger confirmations to get in with those. And I think one of the things that fucks a lot of us psychologically, especially if you're just like, oh, I'm just going to leave the market for the entire bear market and come back, like you'll forget about it and you'll miss the bottom and you'll come back after the market's already pumped 50 or 100%, and you end up not getting a good result anyway. And so that's why I like to be engaged with a couple of portfolios and then have a couple of portfolios that completely disengage and come back after we've been through a solid accumulation range and broken to the upside. So I'll give you examples what I'm talking about on Bitcoin in the last cycle, right? So we had BTC, pretty much the exact same setup to what we had here, right? And with some of my bags, I was like, bought this, how we came down here, swing failure patterns, all that sort of stuff, rotated that up. I definitely got caught in the trap here, buying the breakout. I was like, fuck, this thing's going to go back to all-time highs. Bought in there, got caught in the trap, had to exit after we got the shooting star confirmed and come back inside here. And that was one of the reasons I'm like, I'm fucking definitely not getting caught in that trap again this cycle. That's why I was trying to keep on highlighting it to you guys. But and I took advantage of it this time. I was like, okay, definitely in a trap here. It broke back inside and started exiting, as soon as I did. But I didn't just go like exit 10 Bitcoin, bang out. It's like a couple at a time. It's like, okay, we broke back inside the range high, 2 Bitcoin gone. Okay, we're losing the mid range, 2 Bitcoin gone. We lose the bottom of here, bang. Okay, you take the rest out, right? And so it's sort of like psychologically, it just helps. And it's the same when I'm like getting back into the market as well. Because otherwise, a lot of the time, I think people get frozen and you just don't do anything because the decision is so big. You're making the decision too difficult and then you just get frozen. And then you're like, fuck, now I've hesitated and you're too late. And then you don't do anything because you're like, fuck, now I've got to wait for it to bounce. Does that sound like something that some of you guys have done recently?
Yeah, I'm in that club.
Yeah, right. So like, that's why like, managing a portfolio and like trading everything like that, it's such a psychological game. You're going to try and do everything that you possibly can to make the decisions that you're making easier. And like, especially like, you're fucking running a business, you're getting your balls broken all day. You're trying to do that while also manage a portfolio. A decision, you only can really make about 2 solid decisions per day. And then your capacity for decision making starts to drop off psychologically. There's been many studies on this, right? And a lot of professional traders talk about this. A lot of them only like to take 2 trades per day because they know after that, like, you have diminishing returns. That's why a lot of, like high level CEOs and stuff like that, like Steve Jobs famously always wore the same set of clothes every single day because he didn't have to want to wake up in the morning and make a decision about what he's wearing. Never would make any decisions about what he was eating for that day and stuff like that as well. So if you're running a business and you're making fucking a million decisions every single day, solving people's problems, and then you're going to come back and try and make decisions on this, makes your life really hard. So you're going to try and do everything that you can to make those decisions not as extreme and just get used to getting out with small partials and getting back in. And like, yeah, you're not going to save as much money as if like, okay, it comes in here, you get the first sell trigger through here and you just go 100% portfolio out. Yeah, you're going to lose a little bit more money, but it's also better than not doing anything and then waiting until you're down here and then being like, oh, fuck, now I'm going to take my whole portfolio out. Where you could have started as we broke through, like here was a sell signal, getting back inside value area high, losing VWAP and putting a shooting star reversal here is another exit trigger. Losing value area low is another exit trigger, and here's another exit trigger. Right, we almost had the exact same setup through here, just over the last couple of weeks. Right, it was almost exactly the same, and that was how I sort of played it. It was like, okay, here's the trap. Okay, we're breaking side value area high. Exit some here. We lost VWAP, exit some. We're below value area low, exit some. We're going to lose value area, previous year value area low here. And we've lost the upside, uptrend 3 here, backside retest, and, the shooting star reversal there. And I was just kind of like, yeah, this is fucked. Time to fucking just get out of this thing. And I did try to get back in here and just got fucking wrecked again, to be honest. Probably put like 5 Bitcoin back in here, thinking that we were going to get the sweep. Yeah, it would have been on this one here after we swept the 75, because that was my plan, right? My plan was exit here, get back in after the sweep of this low, right? Obviously, we had one of the biggest capitulations ever, right? So, and it's just, part of the game. Like sometimes you're going to try and get back in a little bit earlier and you just get scorched on that. And that's a bit unfortunate, but there's nothing you can really do about that. It's part of the game and just accept that and move on. And then, bought back in here, caught the bounce, and you've been, this is obviously, looking like some sort of a distribution after this bounce here. And, like I posted the other day, or I think yesterday or this morning, we've got a potential head and shoulders through here. If that breaks the neckline and doesn't turn into an ascending triangle and break through here, inside break and move up, right? We're going to roll over. And then it's from there, we're looking for, what are we looking for down here, right? With some sort of a bounce, in the 1 hour order blocks that are in here, right? If we don't get that, then, the next thing is, looking for a sweep of the low through here. Okay. If it just clears through that, that's another, like, you have to fucking get out of the market. I think if we get a close through the bottom of this, unless it's a bullish engulfing, gets closed straight back above it, you can just get back in. But if we get a close below this wick, like we're going fucking low. Like we're going at least straight down to 50K, I think. So I think that's the last sort of exit. If you get a daily close below 60K, like you have to get out of the market. And then if it comes back up, just add your Bitcoin back in, right? So yeah, that's kind of the way that I look at it. It's like, you got to try and take opportunities, and you could also just wait, because this is most likely either we come down and bounce off here and we put in a higher low, then you get the inside break trade set up and we come up here, right? And it's the same thing as what we were just talking about before. Like one of the main things we have to look at on this Ethereum setup, right, is that break of structure. And, Romps goes over this stuff all the time, in out course and everything like that as well. Like this is your classic breaker block through here, right? This is like, this is like the classic setup that Romps always teaches. Okay. So it's like you come up, you sweep the high here with the swing failure pattern, shooting star reversal, break below here, then we bounce, come back up into the breaker block, then roll over, right? And so that's a downswing, upswing, downswing again. Once you get the break below this here, that's like, okay, you need to be exiting the market because we're officially in a downtrend. Now, let's just say this ends up playing out as a falling wedge, right? Because it looked like a perfect falling wedge until this, right? If that ended up breaking out, you can just get back into the market, right? But I think it's really important to like just really get this structure, you got to get it absolutely glued into your brain. It'll save you guys a lot of money. It'll make you guys a lot of money because it happens low time frame, it happens high time frame. You really got to get this pattern here, this 1, 2, 3, 4 move into your brain, right? Make it a different color. Orange might be easy to see, right? You have a swing low, swing high, rejects off this previous low through here is the most important thing to watch for. Because if it gets above that, right, then you're probably bullish again and you don't have to worry about it. But if this rejects off here and then you break this other low through there, then that's a trend reversal, right? And like support resistance, you don't have like all the complicated stuff that we go through, like you don't really need it if you can just really hyper focus on trend reversals, support and resistance, especially with like managing portfolio, like what we're talking about right now, like on higher time frames. Um, and if you can just focus on the daily chart, I think you need like one chart. Like a lot of you guys getting like really super head buried into all like the low time frame trading and stuff like that. Um, I think you need one chart that's focused on like daily time frame only, and you're just mapping out daily support and resistance and focusing on daily trend reversals. I think it will help you guys a lot, right? And also, you just focus on those daily patterns because there's always every 3 months there's one really fucking easy setup across pretty much the entire market, right? And if you guys are like working, multiple businesses, stuff like that, all the stuff that Rom's been teaching you, get in and trade that stuff in sessions, right? You get in, trade for a session, bang, nail it, sweet, awesome. That's like an income producing activity. What we're talking about here is managing portfolio. This is like investing. It's different to trading low time frame session based stuff, right? So like you can't really just be like focusing on the low time frame trading stuff, but then like have these massive portfolios you guys are kind of managing, but like not really be thinking about it and thinking you're going to have it covered with exo charts and low time frame stuff. Like you're not going to see it. So that's one thing that I would do if I was you guys, because what we're looking for now is this exact same thing to happen in reverse, just upside down, right? Where's my chart gone? Right? Just upside down, right? So what we're going to need to see, and this could be happening here soon as well, right? If we go to the daily time frame, right? This could end up being breaker blocks, right? If we come down, let's say we put in a higher low here instead of a lower high, right? Then we break up from here, right? Reject off this order block because I think that's going to definitely be supply, right? And now we're going to come back and bounce off this like that. It's just the same thing, right? It's this just in reverse. Okay. And then once that happens, and we clear this, okay, bang, we're back into an uptrend. This will also give us really nice developing yearly inside break setup as well if that happens, right? So it's like you see how like we have the confluence, like using the tool that we give you guys, the long-term VWAP system, can help a lot as well because you have confirmation of long-term VWAP key levels. Like that helps you have lines in the sand and make decisions as well. But if you can have just some really simple, like, understand what an order block is, like this back here, like the simple reversal structures, right? That on top of having your long-term VWAPs, right, as extra lines in the sand as well. Because like if we look at this, we broke out of the value area high through here. So if this is going to be strong, that should bounce off this and continue higher, right? It should continue higher. Once you break back inside here, this is basically like inside break, right? Kind of pushed out the top a little bit and then rolled over, right? But then if you look and you're watching the current new year, right, all through here, so many opportunities. And then you can see here that it couldn't close above the VWAP either. And then, now we're here and we're breaking out the bottom. So break out the bottom here, right? Gets back in. Maybe there's a little bit of hope. Rejects right off the top. Nah, it's bearish, right? It's bearish. So I think like the combination, like when you get this candle through here as well, the combination of understanding like just basic market structure on a high time frame, plus having lines in sand of your long-term VWAP levels, and just be exiting like 10, 20% of the time, every single trigger that you get, like it's telling you it's bearish, should start to help you guys get out at better positions. Right. So what we're looking for now, right? I think likely, like this looks super weak, to be honest. And this looks like every single time we break below the value area, right, our long-term VWAP value area, it gets back in and it can't get back in. Like there was a perfect opportunity here to take some profit a very nice level. And now this could get back inside here, reclaim that and push for sure. Like we just said, that would end up being like that exact inverse of this, right? It'd be the exact inverse of this setup if that happened, right? So that would be, right? This ends up being your breaker block. You come back in, higher low through here, right? Then we're into an uptrend. Like that is the main thing that we're looking for. If we go back and look at the previous cycle on Bitcoin, right? So order block through there, shooting star reversal at the high. Then we have our breaker block through here. It's exactly the same thing, except instead of making a lower high, like on the one that we're talking about Ethereum just then, right? You made the lower high here. We made a higher high, right? Ended up trapping people above the all-time highs, right? But it's still the same thing, right? You have the swing low point through here, right? 1, 2, right? And then once you come back in like this and you confirm under the previous swing low, so like this was obviously uptrend, right? So making a low through here, higher high, right? Higher highs through here, right? So this is kind of what we were talking about before. Like you have the break of the trend. It's like, okay, it's fucked. But then what happens to get over the bearishness of the break of the trend? You got to think about this like the market psychologically. How does the market imagine? Sometimes I think it's a bit easier if you look at the market like it's has a personality, right? And so, this is a really nice uptrend through here. Okay, everyone's excited, it's pumping, whatever. We've just had this massive sell-off, right? Okay, it looks like we're going to break up again, whatever. It fails, rolls over, people would start drawing this sort of stuff, whatever. Let's just keep it like this. Breaks the uptrend, backside retest, rolls over. Now everyone's like, fuck, we're just gonna make a lower high, a macro lower high, and then it's going to break down here, right? That's what everybody is like thinking and feeling. That's what the personality of the market would be like, depressed, right? Everyone's sort of fearful, panicking, not feeling very good about where everything's going, right? So what does the market then do to overcome that sort of depressive feeling and negativity and break out of this bearish state, right? It has a high time frame daily reversal pattern, which is a falling wedge, right? And it breaks out of that, but that also breaks it back into an uptrend, right? So if we're looking like this is a lower high, right? High, lower high, right? We're into a downtrend, right? And then this is a higher low in here, okay? Higher low because this is lower, right? Higher low, and then it breaks here, but also breaks the outside downtrend, and that's a basic. This is one of the first things you learn when you learn about how to chart. High time frame reversal setup, right? And then bang, we've got another leg in the bull market. Okay, so it's like if that doesn't happen though, like when you break a clear uptrend like that, you need something to reverse the psychology of the market. Now we're in the same situation here right now. We need something to reverse the psychology of the market because everything is obviously really depressed. Until something big happens, the psychology of the market is not going to reverse, right? Because it's almost like a person that's depressed. It needs something big to come in and shake things up. And that could be something massive like the Clarity Act gets passed and then bang, breaks a bullish pattern. We get back into an uptrend. Okay, that is that like from that point, then we can sort of flip our mindset, and that will be something that can move the market back into being exciting and euphoric again, right? So always try and think about things like that as well. It definitely can help. But back to what I was talking about last cycle, right? It's the same thing. We broke that uptrend, then we get the bearish confirmation through here, and there's nothing through here to flip the script and be like, okay, we're back into a bullish trend, right? We break this downtrend through here, and you can see when we break that, it actually gets a really strong push through here, okay? Right? Then we put in the trap, it rolls over, right? So the high gets put in, lower high, right? Lower high, higher high that ends up being a trap. But ultimately, now we've got macro, lower high, and these are just all internals, right? Then we break through the pattern. So we get, this is, you know how I just said before, like every few months, there's like a pattern, right? So like back here, the obvious pattern was, we're in a trading range, breaks below, breaks up from there. Then the obvious pattern was the falling wedge, right? Then this was obviously distribution top, roll over. Then this was the obvious pattern here, which was a bearish pattern that was really obvious, which is a bear flag, right? Traps there, rolls over. We just had the same thing happen. So it's very likely, it's very likely that we're going to end up doing something similar to this, okay? Because we kind of have been following this bear market almost match for match. Now, let's say the Clarity Act comes out in March, right? And the market starts going fucking ballistic. We will get some sort of an obvious trigger that the market is going to reverse. Otherwise, what's going to happen is we're going to stay in a downtrend, right? We'll just bear flag and then roll over. And I think what we need to watch for is traps in the market, right? So this was obvious trap through here, right? Market looks like it's trying to bounce. Market looks like it's trying to bounce after sweeping this low back here, right? And back here, I was like, we're putting in the trading range after sweeping this low. We're going to put in a trading range here, and this is when accumulation is going to start, right? But then it became pretty obvious when we had, shooting star reversal after sweeping this high, right? So swing failure pattern, shooting star reversal. And then we had another shooting star reversal here, and then just started rolling over, bleeding out. And then also, if you connect the lows of this range through here, it's the same thing. It's just another bear flag. So what we really need to be careful of here in this current price action is getting caught in the same thing, because a lot of people still got caught doing the same thing, right? We could come back here, right? Doesn't make a new low, comes back up, doesn't really make a new high, comes back up, doesn't make a new low again, right? And then we just do the same thing. Sweeps this high twice or something like that. Traps everyone in here, comes back in the high, right? Rejects here, right? This here is your final chance to exit. Okay, when the market is bearish like this, it's like back here. Right, it's like back here. We just came off a really strong push, and then you break here. And you get a backside retest here. Like, you need to fucking buy that. Because we're definitely going higher, right? So you got to trade with the momentum. It's the exact same thing. If you have a bear flag and you break the support, it's the same as this breakout here on a falling wedge, right? And like, I'm fucking buying that every single day of the week, right? So the same thing here. If we have a rising wedge, it's exactly the same thing. Okay, so that's your last chance to get out. If we get a trap like this, come back inside here, start selling a little. Start selling a little. Like, whatever, we might have long-term VWAP levels in there or something like that, right? Might be able to get trades off as well. Whatever happens, if we get backside retest, need to exit, and then, wait for the capitulation. What always happens, and this is one thing I was a bit annoyed about myself, probably put a bit too much in here. Like, not trying to be a mad cunt, but like, like 5 Bitcoin isn't like a huge amount. It's decent size, but it's not like massive amounts for me. But I probably put a little bit too much in, probably do a little bit too risk on just for getting a swing failure pattern of this level here. And it wasn't really a big enough capitulation either. That was probably the main warning sign. Yeah, we had a sweep. The daily didn't really close that good either. And like the day before didn't sweep the low. I kind of had like inverse head and shoulders through here. That needed to break the upside. I thought that might come in, push a little bit, then roll over, finally sweep that low. I was trying to take that trade. Um, I wanted some exposure, but a bit of a mistake. The main reason was the point I want you to focus on here is we didn't get that really big capitulation where you have the big sell off. And it was the same back here as well. I kind of made the same mistake a few times, going in and out of the market. I think I tried to buy in here, trying to get a pin bar reversal. I took some longs through here, trying to be like, yeah, we've finally filled the imbalance through here. This potentially could reverse from there. But in the back of my mind, when I was buying in through here, I was thinking to myself, we haven't really had that big capitulation yet. Like the market never bounces until you have that big, everyone's talking about how many people got liquidated moment, right? And everyone's sharing the screenshot of coin glass, and there's been, $2 to $4 billion liquidated in the market in the last 24 hours, right? So if like you're panicking about when to buy, let's just say we have another trap here and then it rolls over, right? If you're wondering when to buy, that's the moment to buy. When you see everyone have the massive amount of capitulation, it's like popping off everywhere. Everyone's sharing the screenshots, biggest crash ever, blah, blah, blah. That's when you want to buy, okay? And so I traded this swing low a lot better because that was one of the things I was waiting for. Even though I did try and go in through here, this last leg, I was like, I'm really not touching the market. I'm not getting in until we get that final big capitulation. And I was sort of like just watching this. And I was really patient at it. And I was like, I'm not going to enter the market until we get a big capitulation. And obviously, we got that. The deeper you go, you see it becomes more extreme down here. And I was watching this literally on the low time frame on the 5-minute chart. And it came all the way down. We put in that Morningstar reversal off 60K. I didn't start buying in until here because I realized like this final capitulation, that was when all the triggers were going off and all of our liquidity hunter triggers were starting to pop as well on this crash. And I was like, okay, this seems like the moment where everybody's getting stopped out, right? Let's pull it up. So everybody's getting stopped out. Everybody's getting liquidated, and you have that massive amount of volume. And we had pretty much. If you guys aren't using it, definitely get Liquidity Hunter set up on Solana, XRP, Ethereum, obviously Bitcoin. They're probably the main ones. I think I have a couple of like little random ones. Like I have like Jupiter and Ondo. A couple of other ones. But one of the things that I always find is usually Solana pops first. But if you get like Solana or XRP popping a liquidity hunter and Bitcoin hasn't gone yet, usually it goes pretty soon afterwards when you're getting like, the big wick capitulations down like this. And one of the things that helped me catch the bottom, like I got in a lot of Bitcoin really low. We got someone trying to come in, sorry. Got a lot of Bitcoin in really low through here. I added Solana back in. I would have got in at like 72 or a bit lower. Unfortunately, in my DeFi wallet where I hold my Solana, I didn't have any Sol left, so it couldn't execute. So I had to go to another wallet, send the Solana across. But I ended up getting in at pretty much 74, 75. So not too late, but a little bit later than I would have liked because this happened very quickly. So yeah, they ended up being like a couple of really nice knife catches. But the reason why I was like so locked in because when Liquidity Hunter pops off on all of them at the same time, and it goes like, it usually goes like Solana or XRP first, and then Ondo goes pretty early a lot of the time as well. And you'll have like Bitcoin or Ethereum. And then it helps in the other way as well. If Bitcoin goes first, like everything else is going to go afterwards. So like if you're quick as well, you can always catch a couple of quick shorts and then get out quickly. But you just need to be careful you're not getting in too late because it can reverse quite fast. It's like a mega high risk scalping strategy. I know fucking some of you probably going to try it, but just be super careful with that. But the
What
main
time frame are you running the alerts on?
the
Sorry.
30-minute.
Sorry.
Yeah, we always run Liquidity Hunter on the 30-minute.
30, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks,
I know,
mate.
I know Zaki's probably going to try and catch the shorts when one of them's popping off, and it is a pretty clean trade, to be honest. Almost always happens. Like when you're getting the major reversals, like one of them starts to go, and it's like even it happened even just today. When we had this one just before pop off, it was like I think XRP went first, then Solana procced, and then Ethereum and Bitcoin went, and I was like, okay, 'cause I was thinking about maybe taking profit on my Bitcoin short, and then XRP popped through the liquidity hunter. I was like, oh well, I'll wait. And I also had um, in one of the algos, I had to manually close this trade on Solana. I was like, well, XRP just procced. Like Solana is probably going to go in a second, and I just waited for that. I ended up managing to catch like right almost at the very bottom of this Solana sell off because I waited for it to pop with Liquidity Hunter. So it's like you can use it to give you just like a little bit of help of what's going to happen next in the market and just give you like a little bit extra edge. And so yeah, that definitely helped heaps to catch this low back through here, right? So definitely get those set up. You're on the 30 minutes, and it'll just alert you when something's going on in the market. And then obviously, we had the massive, so we had all those liquidity hunters popping, really big volume, quite a large sell-off. So like, we're looking here on the 30-minute chart. We had a 14% on Solana dump in 30 minutes. Like, you're looking at all the rest of this price action through here. The last time we ended up reversing was back here when exactly the same thing happened. Like, you have a very big wick to the downside, right? And then the market starts to reverse and go sideways after that. But through here, right, you can see like it's much smaller candles. The spread between the open and the close of the candles, much smaller. This one was a decent size one. That also was a liquidity hunter trigger as well. But when it's all of them going at the same time, when you have it's not just like one, like it's not just like Solana's going because they'll pop off randomly by themselves. It's when like every single one is going at the same time. That's when all the big liquidations are getting hit. So you can sort of sit back and wait. Like let's just say, for example, we're here. We end up getting it's gone. Here it is. Let's end up saying we get this happen, right? And then the market rolls over from here and we come down towards like 50K or something like that, right? You don't need to stress about like missing the bottom or something like that until all of these are popping off at the same time. Everyone's starting to post about, wow, liquidations are fucking through the roof. And, if you guys use Exo charts, you can see the massive liquidations coming through there, or you can use Coin Glass if you want to. Get it up and show you guys. Right, you can go here and you just want to look at like the 1 hour rect, 4 hour rect, 24-hour rect. And yeah, when the 24-hour rect is getting into the billions, we get a lot of like 1 billion popping off these days. So you probably want it to get above 2 billion to be a confirmed bottom. And like if this is the next rollover, potentially could be final low gets put in as well, right? So I would be expecting it's going to be probably a pretty big amount of liquidations. It's if we do roll over. I'm just saying, like, let's just say bearish case scenario is this rolls over, right? Comes down to 50 or might shoot down to 45 or something like that. This is going to be $3 to $4 billion probably, right? That pops off at the same time as all the liquidity hunters popping off, right? That is going to be your major signal to be like, okay, exit here, that's my trigger to get back in, right? And, whatever the amount drops here, 25%, bang, you just increase your Bitcoin portfolio holdings by 25%, right? So that's how I kind of like, map it out. Sorry, someone asked a question?
Yeah, man, just on that liquidity hunt, I've played with it on the short time frames. It hasn't worked for me. I think I'm doing it wrong. If it's popping off like you just had it there before and it's going all green, is is that like in this circumstance, in hindsight, you can see it went up, but if it's going off in the moment, is that a sign in this example where it's gone off on whatever day that was there to go long or go short? Because it's the big candle's going down, like it's going off, like Are we looking for continuation or reversal?
Well,
In this case, it's a reversal, but is it always a reversal when it's going nuts?
yes, not always. It's just the only thing it's telling you is that there's like huge volume coming in, right? And so like it's not always huge volume either. It's more volume. It depends what your look back period is. Maybe Brendan can help us out here because he's the developer. It depends on the look back period. I don't know how many days it is. Brendan, are you there still?
Yeah.
What?
So
How many candles look back is it?
it's 30 candles look
30
back,
candles.
is the standard. And then also it triggers when there's the high volume, which is based on the simple moving average of the volume. So it's got to be like 100% above. So it's like double the normal volume. So you get two types of triggers. But you're right, it does go off like whenever there's a higher volume event, but you need to like correlate it to some other level. So it's really just showing you when there's traps coming in. So if there is trapped people, or there's like a massive liquidation event where stops getting absolutely smashed, then you're going to just get that extra volume. But like when it goes off, and that's why I normally just say stick to the 30-minute, because it'll go off a lot otherwise. And as Kyle said, like just pick all the majors, and then if it comes in heaps, like they're all coming in, then that's an obvious sign that everything's capitulating across the board. And then and you can see from the other day, on Friday, like I had thousands of alerts coming in, and it picked it really well. So you just need to kind of there are some rules in my channel as well about how to trade it. But if you're going to trade it on a lot of alts and stuff like that, it's much better in a bull trend. So we haven't had a decent bull trend on alts for more than a year. So it's not really that great on every single alt, but definitely on your majors, it can give you sort of a very good indication that something's happening.
Yeah, so we got it on XRP and Solana at the same time. XRP had already collapsed massively, and so the candle here was actually an SFP candle. So like you're more likely if you get a SFP, you're more likely like that adds strength to it as well. Like you want to see traders get trapped, and then the other part of it as well is you get the candle volume profile like this. And this is a perfect example. Like this is what you want to see. You want to see traders trapped through here, but I'm not taking a trade now because this is actually not a bad example of a trade that you would take. But I just think that the like Bitcoin at the moment is bearish. So like, I'm not really thinking that this is going to reverse because the higher time frame setup sort of is a bearish setup. So I'm not going to like because Bitcoin, so you sort of like need to have. It's not like just a mechanical strategy. Like whenever it pops, you're going to get a reversal, right? Because we've just had this get put in. It's very likely Bitcoin's coming lower to either come back down here, maybe could stop through here, or some of these order blocks, something like that through here, but it's probably coming a fair bit deeper. So, and then also I would like to see if it was going to be a reversal, I'd like to see that much deeper and more extreme as well. And also, like, if you look at the volume, it's actually not that big. It's just bigger volume than the last three candles. But we've also just had the weekend as well, which is always super low volume.
You'd
So
be
it's not
looking
always a
for
reversal trigger.
you'd be looking for a perfected nine as well, in there, wouldn't you? As well, to give you some idea it's coming to the end.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why my lines aren't working at the moment. We'll try update that. Sorry, my dog's going nuts. um I don't know why that's not working, but it's annoying.
Because then you'd also do it with your cipher chart as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so you want to have like oversold triggers and everything like that. It's just like an extra little thing. Like it's more like to bring your attention to like, hey, something could be potentially happening. Go and have a look at the chart. It's not like, hey, this is a reversal trigger that you need to take. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's more of just like an alert, something's happening. But I do like to see like, a lot of them happening at the same time. And like when you get a really big, push down like this, like if we go and look at like ETH was the same thing, like really big capitulation. Like this was a really big capitulation through here. We broke through the $2,000 level as well, which then flipped into resistance pretty quickly. But it closed down here, right? You want to see it like trap traders. It's with you want to see the volume profile at the side around the bottom of the candle in the wick, right? And then you need to match it up with like a lot of liquidations as well. So like through here, like, where's our liquidations? Like, there's no liquidations, right? So we need, like it's just sort of like an alert that tells us, hey, there could be something happening. So it's like, hey, come jump on here. Has there been heaps of liquidations? No, there hasn't. Okay, I don't care anymore. But if there was like, let's say a couple of $1 billion of liquidations here, the wick was way longer, lots of traders trapped in the low, right? Then obviously I'm getting a lot more interested. So yeah, that's how I use that. So yeah, any questions, guys? Talked about a lot of different stuff, but just mainly, I think like the main thing that we need to know, like you need to have a plan if the market rolls over again from here, and you need to have a plan at what to do if the market does flip back into an uptrend. Right, one of the things sort of getting into just before, but yeah, go ask your question if you want.
Oh no, I was just going to say it just makes sense because since I've changed my trading to take percentages off at levels and things, my profits sort of gone up. So I just need to flip that to my spot portfolio now instead of I was doing exactly what you said, just setting and forgetting, and not actually taking too much notice of it. I need to be running that same scenario on that as well, and scaling in and scaling out.
Yeah, 100%. And just you just need a plan in place. It's like, okay, when we get a high time frame daily trend reversal, I need to start taking some off the table.
Yeah, and I'll set a chart, a high time frame for that scenario.
100%. Right. So what I was saying before is we could very likely be in this situation here. Either that or we've already fully capitulated and we're already in the beginning phases of the accumulation range. Okay. I think we're probably getting close-ish to the bottom. If we're not already at the bottom, we're getting close. I'll go through potential bottom triggers at the moment in a little bit, but I just want to sort of just nail this point into your heads a little bit deeper while we're on the topic. So obviously downtrend all the way through here. We could potentially be in this position right now, right? Right, continues in downtrend, swing high, right? This just ends up being another bear flag, right? But more importantly, through here, we don't break to new lows, and it continues sideways. The only reason this would have just continued to grind up like this, because this is what the stock market did, and then it eventually broke out and ran way earlier than what we did in crypto. The only reason this ended up rolling over was because of FTX. Right, FTX crashed and that nuked the market through here, and then that finally put in the final bottom. I don't think we would have gone another level lower. That probably would have just been the trading range through there. But regardless of that, right? So lower highs through here, right? Another lower high. But then, right? The final low, right? Higher low through here. Right, we get a really nice, strong trend breakthrough here. Pops out of there. I was back in this moment back here. I was like still licking my wound, so I was really bearish. I was actually hoping the market would come back down to this low down here and hit 12K. Try and lock in a certain amount of Bitcoin before we moved up. And I was just a little bit too bearish, and the market pushed up through here. That's why emotion in trading is like the most important thing, right? Because I just got fucked so hard by FTX in this crash. If you're in control, those emotional decisions and your bias is really the biggest thing that can get you screwed. Anyway, so push through here, but as soon as it broke this downtrend and we reclaimed this, I was like, it's over. Like that's the end of the boom. That's the end of the bear market, right? And then the final 100% confirmation was getting above this high here, right? So reclaiming the range low through here, that's obviously very clear spring. This could do that for sure, right? But a sustained, very strong sustained push for 25% move over multiple days. This was also the start of the new year. The market loves to push at the start of a new year as well. I don't know if you guys saw the start of this year. We pushed pretty much non-stop to the upside for the first week, right? So pretty much the first 2 weeks pushed non-stop to the upside. But it was when we finally broke above this high here, that was confirmation that we're back into an uptrend. And you can see from there, right? So here, higher low gets confirmed. So high in here, higher low. This was a little bit tricky because we did have a higher low get put in here, and then we broke that. So that could easily ended up, if this could have been, there was a breaker block, right? You come back up and reject off that, then you're back into a downtrend, okay? But this basically got inversed. We closed back above the breaker block and we push. And there was a lot of news going on at this point as well. Yeah, there was heaps of stuff going on with like one of the banks was going under, and then the Fed came in and bailed them out. So the whole everything sold off really aggressively because you had banks going insolvent. Then the weekend hit. They came out on the Sunday. They said that the Federal Reserve is going to shore up all the banks and provide as much liquidity as they need. And then there was no more runs on the banks, right? Because everyone was panicking that there was going to be all these banks were going to go under. And I remember everybody was talking about, even one of the things was getting talked about on the fucking NBA was Giannis Antetokounmpo, who plays for the Milwaukee Bucks, had like hundreds of bank accounts because FDIC only insures for 250,000 per account. We're talking about it on the fucking NBA. Like that's how much everybody was talking about this stuff. And then the Federal Reserve came out and they said, look, we're going to back every single bank no matter what happens. And so that fear was completely alleviated from the market and it just completely shot up. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have broken that low, but still, regardless, the technicals still work out. We're back into a solid uptrend. Now, this took a long time. Like we think about this, it was June until pretty much when we finally got out of this range, March, sorry, not far off April, right? So yeah, 270, 250 days through that accumulation range. Unless something really bad happens, like, fucking major exchanges like Binance blows up or, one of the semi-major exchanges ends up going under for some reason, or something really bad like happens economically, we go into like a full recession for the rest of the year economically. I don't think our range low is going to be as long as this. If this had tracked the stock market, it would have just ended up coming out through here. We would have ended up pushing because the stock market ended up pushing into the end of the year and crypto lagged really badly because of the FTX crash, right? So that's something to think about as well. I know you're going to see a million people talking about the bottom's going to take an entire year and all this sort of stuff. If we go back to the cycle beforehand, this bottom didn't take as long at all, right? It only took 130 days. So it can be a lot shorter if the right bullish factors start to come into play. And what ended up sending us up into an uptrend here is that actually finished quantitative tightening. They put a plan in place to start quantitative easing towards the end of the year and ended up kicking in, around here. But then, they pulled it off again and then we had COVID and they got the biggest QE of all time, literally like $4 trillion printed in a couple of months. But we just needed a bullish catalyst, right, to break us out of the range high. But it's the same principle, right? Much different bear market back here compared to what we just saw over this current bear cycle and the 2022 one, right? Much, much different. But it's the same thing though, right? So high, higher low, right? Higher lows all through here. Flat base for ages, right? This is what I was talking about. Like there's one obvious setup, right? You probably pull that back to here, end up taking about 5 months or something like that for that one to play out. Well, not 5 months, 4 months, right? Then it plays out, descending triangle, breaks to the downside. right? Then we have massive, massive capitulations all the way down to the bottom, right? And then you have an ascending triangle, which ends up being a reversal pattern, breaks the upside. So those were the two obvious reversal patterns through there, right? So we're going to get something similar to this. I think it's going to be a shorter accumulation range, and it's going to catch a few people out. The thing is going to go forever, and it will probably end up reversing around, maybe the middle of the year, because I think they're going to juice the shit out of the market. They want the economy fucking flying. They want the market flying going into the November 3rd midterm elections, right? So the market needs to be pushing aggressively. I'm not saying the crypto market needs to, but the stock market needs to, and that could draw the crypto market out of its bearish downtrend earlier than what people are expecting, because macro is starting to turn our way. I'll jump onto that in a second, but I just think that this was a very extended bear market through here, accumulation range, 270 days. And then, we had a reaccumulation for 213 days. So the market pretty much went sideways in a 30% or 60% if you go to the highs there. But, 500 days, right? That's a long time for the market not to move very much. But there was some great trading there. Like, we still made heaps of money. The Discord was still pumping back then. And there were great opportunities. And it was just nice to get out of this fucking brutal downtrend, right? So, like, there's always going to be opportunities to make money. There's always going to be trades to take, no matter how deep we go. I think the lowest we probably get down to would be this consolidation range here. And that's also when the ETFs launched. So that's, I think the bare bottom would be an accumulation range around the 40K to 50K area. But we could already be kind of entering that. We could just go through between like 55K, 60K as well. It could easily happen. We just need to wait and see what we get. It's very hard. Like, everyone always wants me to like predict what the market's going to do. It's not how trading works. It's very difficult to predict what's going to happen. You get a very short window, like once every couple of weeks, where it's extremely obvious what's going to happen, right? And I might need to, beat the drum a little bit louder. Like, after this trap got put in, I mean, I made a couple of posts and, I made a few videos about it, but obviously still didn't get the message across. So I'm going to try and do my best. If we do get a really obvious setup like this again, me and the rest of the team will try and do our best to, make you guys super, super aware so you can exit. Because I know a lot of people like trapped in like positions and stuff like that. Like, it'd be great if we could help you guys exit some positions at an obvious point, get back in a little bit lower, at least increase your bags by like 20-30% across different projects. Because it can really help when the market finally reverses. You're getting back to break even a lot lower. It can help a lot, right? And at least it gives you like a little bit of a psychological win as well. Like, you're increasing your stack as the market's going lower, right? So yeah, economically wise, really, really big win for the economy and the Trump team is the ISM getting above 52. I think it ended up being like 52.68 was the reading, and getting it above the 50 line. Just let me shore up the chart there. Right, we had a couple of like, I think it tagged like 50.8 or something like that, but then came straight back down the next month. If this continues higher, which I'm expecting it to, because the way that it works is you have all different, there's all different parts of the government in different areas and states and stuff like that. They collect the same data. And that's why, like, sometimes you can sort of forecast what the inflation numbers are going to be, and sometimes you can sort of forecast like jobs numbers and stuff like that, because you sort of apply like a couple of the major capital cities like Chicago, or it might be like Philadelphia Fed or something like that, and they get like a really large reading on something. It's usually similar right across the entire country when you get the national reports in. And some of those are starting to push quite high, like up to 57 at the moment. So yeah, if the ISM starts pushing up to 60, we have like, gold finally chills out, price of copper starts to go up against that, and that starts to rally. You have new Fed chair coming in May. they start to, work with the Treasury, which they've already come out and they've talked about having the accord with the Treasury. And so what it looks like is, Kevin Walsh is going to be the new Fed chair, and Scott Bessent, who's the Treasury Secretary, very much looks like they're going to start working together hand in hand, and they're going to have these accords, but they'll be talking to each other nonstop. Except because at the moment you have the Treasury and the Fed fucking hate each other, and then definitely not working together to try and get things moving, right? And they're trying to do opposite things. That's why they're calling each other out in the media all the time, and they're basically having a battle in the media instead of being a team trying to fix the economy, trying to get things working, trying to get the markets, humming along nicely, and everybody employed and increasing wages and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be a massive win anyway. But one of the reasons why I think Kevin Walsh was chosen as Fed chair is because he used to work for Stanley Druckenmiller as well, and so did Scott Bessent. So they used to work at the same hedge fund together. And so, I'd say I'm not sure if they were there at the same time, but they definitely both had the same boss. I'll have to do a bit of research into that. But, we'll just say anyway that they're old friends that see eye to eye on what should be getting done at the right time. If you don't know who Stanley Druckenmiller is, he's one of the best performing hedge funds of all time, and one of the greats of finance. And he's working with these guys as well. He's been getting a lot more involved. So I just really like the direction that everything's going, and I just kind of feel like you're getting out all the textbook, like. It fucking really annoys me. Jerome Powell is a lawyer. He's not even he's not even finance. He's a fucking lawyer, for fuck's sake. And this is the guy that's been running pretty much the most powerful finance position on the entire planet. He's been running the Federal Reserve, and he's for the last 8 years, and he's a lawyer. And that's how I think why he fucked it up so badly, because he's not a trader. He doesn't understand markets. Like, you can't tell me that somebody who's been a lawyer their entire life is going to be as good at managing the economy and the Federal Reserve and making the big calls at the right time as somebody who's worked for one of the best hedge funds on the planet, right? And so when you have guys as talented as Scott Bessent, who worked before Druckenmiller, he worked for Soros, and they worked together in, the crashing the pound and all that sort of stuff. Soros's fund was one of the greatest funds. Well, a lot of people say that it is the greatest fund of all time, and you put him up there with Druckenmiller as well. Like, you got some of the best minds of financial markets working together to try and get the economy pumping, reduce the debt at the same time, and getting people in America to feel rich. I think that's probably the most important thing. They want American citizens feeling like they're rich. That's their main goal for this entire year. And we will see that materialize with things like the ISM going up, because when Americans feel rich and they're spending more money, this goes up, right? Copper gold index also will go up because it means manufacturing is increasing, but it also means like building, construction, stuff like that is increasing, because, when that starts to pop and you go through construction booms, gold obviously doesn't get used anywhere nearly as much as construction and lots of manufacturing, right? So then you have a swing high in that, and people move out of things like gold. So gold has more of a pullback when the economy is going really well and you have certainty. I also think Trump's going to chill the fuck out with all his tariffs and everything like that, because he's not going to want uncertainty going into the midterm elections. He's not going to want controversies going into the midterm elections. So he's not going to be running around throwing tariffs on all these different countries, or hopefully not. Who fucking knows with that guy? But that's just my read on it anyway. And so I kind of feel like we could be getting a reversal around mid-year. So that'd be the time I'd be really watching for something to start to reverse and take off. So that's pretty much it for the full download of my brain tonight, guys, and what I'm seeing. A bit disappointing that this didn't get any higher and break up to get some better exits. I really thought this was probably going to push up into the, at least tag 100K or get to 108, and then reject and roll over from there. But it's just been super, super bearish, super weak. And I'm really putting that down to this October 10 event. And obviously somebody big got really badly hurt. The other thing as well that I haven't really talked about yet is the tech stocks have actually also been absolutely annihilated, almost lockstep with Bitcoin as well. Um, so potentially Bitcoin's just trading with the tech stocks and nothing else really fucking matters at all. If that's the case, we need to watch tech. And if this tech starts to bounce up through here and Bitcoin doesn't go with tech when it rallies, because I'm expecting something like this to happen again, um, and Bitcoin sort of diverges and does this while tech does this, then we probably expect a little bit of a longer accumulation range. But yeah, that is definitely one thing to watch. So if you want to get this chart up, it's just IGV, and that is the tech stock index. So that's pretty much it, guys. Any questions? Anything else you want me to run through?
No, just that the copper gold one. So you expect copper will sort of kick back in once housing and that starts picking up again.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
You don't see it as it's sort of been fed into your data centers and stuff as well.
What do you mean?
Well, copper is obviously
Oh,
used.
yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, obviously, yeah, that's manufacturing, right? The thing is,
Yeah.
this is obviously being pushed down a lot because gold's been parabolic as well, right? So we can't leave that out of the equation either. But also, we know from the ISM that manufacturing in general and the economy has been super weak because the ISM's been under for 40 months. It's the longest period ever in the history of the ISM that it's been under for so long. So we know just in general everything's weak, and demand for everything will pick up, I think, over this year and next year as well. So we might finally see all that lack of hype in the crypto market. Like NFTs weren't even a thing this cycle. And I think that they will come back eventually as well, but the people have to feel rich, and that comes after a couple of years of expansion. So everything
All right, thank
cycles
you.
through. No worries. Any other questions?
Oh, not really a question, but we've got we've just broken a 6-day TPO composite if anyone's interested. So
The downside?
to the downside, yep.
Nice.
I'm just looking at the 66K level at the moment. It lines up with the previous week value area low, which is the developing monthly value area low, and it's the 2024 VWAP. My question regarding that is, if we do lose that level, is it reasonable to assume we would then rotate all the way down to the 2024 value area low?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Pretty much,
So,
man.
yeah.
We've
So
also got the dailies
I
of
personally,
CS9
if
as
we lose
well.
that 66 level, I'm going to clear out everything I've got at that point.
Yeah,
It's
look, the thing
like
is, like,
never.
of course, on lower time frames, you can get things like little, deviations and stuff. So just because, like, we lose it, I'd want to see something more like a daily time frame, a couple of days to give it, it could go a bit lower and then come back up and reclaim that VWAP. It does that kind of thing. But yeah, at the same time, like getting like the CS9 range as well off that daily we just got put in, that's 50%. So we're back in the discount as well. And there's a H12 HV POC just below the previous week as well. So there's some big levels. So I'd like to see some solid interactions and a bit of a buyback up there. I don't really want to see it fuck around under that sort of area for too long.
The other thing as
What
well, I
level?
might get you to take over the screen in a second, Romps, if you want to. But the other thing I'll say, guys, is almost every single time the market reverses after a sell-off, downtrend, accumulation range, we have a weekly swing failure pattern, and it usually always follows through with either a bullish engulfing or a morning star reversal. Right? Go back and have a look over the last 10 years of Bitcoin price action history. It's very, very rare that you get a reversal without a large weekly swing failure pattern with clear traps below some sort of a key level. So that's what we're going to need to watch for. Right. So let's just say that wick got put in here. It could happen here, right? It could come down, do this, come back down here, do this, right? Come back down, bang, right? That would be the sort of stuff that you would get. Right, so that's definitely a main thing you need to be watching for is a weekly swing failure pattern. I'll let you jump over and share the screen if you want Roms to show a couple
Yeah,
of
I'll just quickly show. It's pretty
a quick
much
one.
just, yeah, just to basically cover what I'm I'm looking at. Where are we here? Yeah, so it's basically just, I mean, if I go to the daily, it's pretty, I shared this chart the other day. It's pretty straightforward. We are looking at that 2024 VWAP at the moment, basically. So a bit of a line in the sand. I don't want to go below because, obviously the general rule is once we lose this level here, we try and traverse this level through here. We can get that interruption from here, and that's what we're trying to get at the moment. This could be a bit of an inside break at this point here where we do push up. Obviously don't have that high of a hope for it to go back up there, but nonetheless, it could get back in here and it could move somewhere there, or it could, of course, if it did want to go back to 81K, that would just give us more of that sort of rotational behavior that still exists in here. So until we get above here, it's pretty cooked. But anyway, there is a trade or something to take in here at the moment. It would be from around this point, and as you've just mentioned as well, that low, so that red line, it's lining up pretty much with the previous week value area low, give or take. And we also have that developing monthly. So there's a few levels there that are sort of lining up. This the H12 point of control, this little orange hand, if you see as well, pretty much also lines up within that sort of area. So I'd sort of give it the benefit of the doubt. What is that? Say at around 64, 800 ish. So if it does lose that, could be the normal lower time frame, fucks around a bit, and then actually reclaims it and takes off to get a bit of a few people going short underneath the area. But yeah, having said that, I don't really want to see it spend too much time sort of around this low in here. But this if you're wondering where this petty range came from as well, just got the CS9, got the entire range of it. So obviously, turbocharged ranges is what we've got in here. Rejected out the top of it, we're rotational with inside it. Deep discount, it's still a thing. Nonetheless, there's a bit of a HS level that's in that deep discount. So another area that could, it's not great, but could potentially be a bit of a bounce would be this one down through here. What color will I use? Chuck purple on it. Yeah, but it's just sort of this level. It goes back to the general deep discount, come down, get a bit of a bounce and screw around in here, but we could just reject again. So, ideally I would like to see, we've got premium here, deep premium here of the level. So coming down through here and getting a bit of a reclaim is something I prefer to see than put my trust in this sort of area down through here where you start finding weakness again. But yeah, again, Kyle sort of just mentioned that we could be in for a bit of rotation anyway. So we could be coming down, and whether we sweep or don't, we come back up, we go down, we go up, we just bore ourselves to tears. So few things to think about there, but yeah, that's sort of what I'm looking at. Probably be asleep for this, as always. I'm not putting any limit orders or anything in there, but if I am awake, I've got an alert set anyway for this sort of area just to jump on the trend reversal and see if there's anything that's actually going to make me pull the trigger. Potentially, if this is just going to come in and just put that low in, and just put that, put that a little higher, and then potentially put a higher low in this area through here, and then actually push up towards developing monthly value very high, and potentially actually get back in to that developing quarterly value area low, which would sort of opens back up more towards that 81.7K area again, which is again that's sort of still remaining rotational within here, but that's sort of just what I'm looking at, what I'm going off. But yeah, I'm thinking we probably will go lower, but I wouldn't not take a trade from this point here, and just be careful again back up around that sort of developing quarterly value area low, developing yearly value area low as it stands. Any questions on that?
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Sweet as.
No, really good stuff, Roms. I just saw Lux about an hour a bit ago. Are you still here, Lux? I don't know if
See if he's in.
Yeah,
He's here.
but
Yeah, I saw you said in the chat. I feel like you made it pretty clear when to get out, and you sold everything at 100. I was wondering if you just share with us, your process and what you're thinking about, and why you exited.
yeah, hang on, I'll just get my chart up on the screen. So I remember you speaking about it looked like could go into distribution.
Yeah.
And then I was going to try and get out. Where was it? when we broke like the support, and you put on your chart, it's like a rising wedge
Hmm.
after we lost support. And then I just saw like a big daily pin bar or reversal, and I managed to just sell everything. And this is the first time I've ever sold. I've been in crypto like 8 years, and then just rode up, down 2 cycles. And like the psychology of now I'm out, I've got like a completely different view. Like I'm not in a rush to get back in, whereas like usually I would be like the fear of like kind of the fear of missing out and trying to nail the bottom. Now I'm just gonna hold, and I've got that luxury of kind of waiting. I can wait until, like you say, that daily trend completely changes rather than trying to catch a falling knife.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sold all my alts, all my Bitcoin, everything just sitting in cash at the moment. So
Nice. Awesome.
thank you for that.
So yeah, you guys are talking about round tripping and stuff like that a couple of times. Sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah, I've been through the ringer, man. I lost like half of my stack on FTX when
Mm.
that went down. Yeah, and then AI wealth done me a little bit, and then it's just it's a journey, right? But we'll get there in the end. Like it's one of them things you got to be in it to win it, I guess. So
There's always another trade. There's always another cycle
100%,
coming. So yeah.
100%, mate.
Hopefully everybody that didn't manage to cash out, we can still, try and build your positions. Uh, so over the whatever that happens over the next couple of months before we get back into an uptrend, hopefully we'll be able to, build your stack up a little bit, or just fucking hold on for dear life and wait for the next cycle to start. Pretty much, your other options, right? So
Yeah, we'll work through it. I mean, we can always add more back in if we have to.
yeah,
But
that's it. Well, good stuff, guys. Hopefully, you got something out of tonight you can take away and will improve your trading and investing.
thank you very much.
All right.
Cheers,
Good
guys.
save.
Awesome. Thanks, Ax.
No worries, guys. Chat soon.
See you soon.
Catch ya.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.